How does a man win 2 rooks and a bishop for free, and still get checkmated? Watch. London, 1851. The white pieces belong to Adolf Anderssen, a man who would rather give a piece than keep one. Across from him sits Lionel Kieseritzky, the proud theoretician who never met a free piece he could refuse. Take Kieseritzky's chair. You are black tonight in a noisy coffeehouse, and the most generous attacker in the room is about to hand you his whole army. Every gift is poison. The first 10 moves blur past. A king's gambit, the oldest brawl in chess. Anderssen offers a pawn on f4, Kieseritzky grabs it, then throws his queen to h4 with check to harry the white king. Anderssen scoops a loose pawn on b5, Kieseritzky brings a knight to f6, and the real fight begins where the theory ends. Now the book closes. Anderssen develops his knight to f3, calmly chasing the black queen off her perch. The black queen retreats to h6, hugging the edge, while Anderssen quietly props the center with a pawn to d3. One man is building, the other is admiring the pawn he stole.
A pawn off Anderssen already. His king cannot even castle. This looks too easy.
Kieseritzky chases a small edge, swinging his knight to h5 to guard the stolen pawn, and the white knight follows it to h4. 2 horses circling one little square, while the black king still sits frozen at home. The black queen lunges to g5, lashing out at the stranded knight, and Anderssen answers by planting his own knight on f5, deep in black's face and refusing to retreat. Kieseritzky nudges a pawn to ca6 to poke the white bishop, and Anderssen flings a pawn to g4, slamming the door on the black queen's escape. The board is catching fire on both sides. The black knight scurries back to f6, hunting safety, and Anderssen lifts his rook to g1, dropping a hint that the whole kingside is about to march. The storm is gathering, and Kieseritzky is still counting his pawn. And here the greed bites. A bishop sits loose on b5, so Kieseritzky takes it, takes b5, a clean extra piece. But that pawn was the only thing shielding his king's escape. This is the mistake that hands Anderssen the initiative for good.
A whole bishop just sitting there. Free is free.
Anderssen pays the greed no mind. He shoves a pawn to h4, kicking the black queen, and she slides to g6, still hunting, still far from her own king. White is down a piece and attacking harder than ever. The h-pawn rolls onto h5, chasing again, and the black queen swings to g5, fully exiled on the kingside rim. Her king sits alone in the center while she wanders the far edge of the board. Anderssen lifts his queen to f3, eyeing the heart of black's position, and Kieseritzky is forced to crawl his knight all the way back to g8 just to survive. His pieces are unwinding, retreating to the first rank one by one. Anderssen wins back the gambit pawn, his bishop landing on f4, and the black queen drops to f6 to fend off the threats. The wreckage is total. Black has more pieces, white has all the menace. Anderssen brings his last knight into the hunt with knight c3, every white piece now leaning toward the lonely black king. Kieseritzky finally develops a bishop, but to the wrong square, bishop c5, grabbing at activity instead of guarding. It is another mistake, and the evaluation lurches hard toward white. Anderssen springs his knight to d5, a thunderbolt into the center, threatening the black queen and splitting the board in 2. And the feast goes on. The black queen plunges to b2, swallowing a pawn deep in white's home, hungry as ever. But every square she travels is a square farther from her king. Then the move that made this game immortal. Anderssen ignores both his hanging rooks and plays bishop d6, throwing the bishop in front of the black king to freeze it in the center.
He is just giving me the rooks now. With this much material, how am I not winning?
Kieseritzky cannot help himself. His bishop snatches the rook on g1, bishop takes g1, another full piece in the bank. He is winning by every count, but the only one that matters. Anderssen pushes a pawn to f5, shouldering the black queen's defender aside and clearing the road to f6. Greed takes the second rook too. The black queen swoops to a1 with check. Queen takes a 1, devouring the last corner of white's back rank. And this is why the riches are a curse. The black queen, 2 bishops, Both knights, the rooks, the whole army sits jammed on the far edge, while the king stands naked in the center. The richest force on the board cannot send one defender home in time. Anderssen does not flinch. His king simply steps to e2, walking out of check, leaving every black trophy stranded on the rim.
2 whole rooks and a bishop ahead. Why does this feel like drowning?
One thread of defense remained. Kieseritzky reaches instead for one more morsel, knight a6, the move that finally loses. It does nothing for his king, and now the mate is forced. He had one defense. Pulling the bishop home to a6 would have boarded up the door beside his king, and Anderssen's mate simply never arrives. Survival was one quiet retreat away. But the bishop never came home. The hunt begins. The white knight crashes onto g7 with check, knight takes g7, and the black king is herded to d8, its one and only square. Then the crown of it all. Anderssen offers his queen too, queen f6 with check, the third piece flung into the fire to drag away the knight that guards the king. There is no refusing it. The knight takes the queen on f6, knight takes f6, and in saving itself it abandons the very square that held the door shut. Declining changed nothing. Blocking with the knight on e7 only lets the bishop take it with the same mate. The queen could not be refused. And the bishop slides to e7, bishop e7, checkmate. Look why it is over. The black king stands on d8, the bishop checking it from e7. Its own pieces block c8 and d7. The knight on d5 covers c7, the knight on g7 covers e8. Every door is shut. And there it sits. A black queen, 2 rooks, 2 knights, 2 bishops, all alive, all useless, watching from the far rim as one white bishop ends the game.
Every piece I won was worthless. I was the one being hunted all along.
Adolf Anderssen checkmates Lionel Kieseritzky. London 1851, the game the world would call immortal. He gave away 2 rooks, a bishop and his queen, and won. The free piece is never free.